Hi, my name is Tyler with Electric Personal Training, and this is the calf raise. Now, the calves are very simple in what they do, so this is going to apply for any calf raise you're doing. It doesn't matter, seated, standing, Smith machine, free weights, regular machine. Calf raises are all pretty much going to be similar in the form that we're trying to use. Now, my first piece of advice, if you're not using a machine, most machines will have this built in, but if you're using the Smith machine like I'm going to here, we are going to want a platform. Now, that's because the range of motion of the calves is going to take our heels lower than our toes, so we want to be able to get there. We're not going to be able to get there if our heels and our toes have to be on the same level at the floor. So we're going to do this by using either a platform. They're super lightweight, so they're super easy to carry around, they're easy to move. But if you don't have the luxury of access to a platform, then you can use a couple plates. Now, I say a couple plates because it's usually better to use two 25s next to each other rather than a 45. And that's because the 45, it's a circle, it's going to curve quite a bit, and you're going to have to adjust your feet in an awkward way to make them line up to the edge so that only your toes are on the plate. You want the balls of your feet on the plate and your heels hanging off. So in order to make that work on a 45, it's going to be pretty awkward. It's a little more comfortable to set two 25s next to each other. You do need some kind of elevation for your toes though, so you can get a full stretch on the calves. Now, another thing to take into account if you're using a machine that has shoulder pads that are set or a knee pad on the seated calf raise is you want to be able to get to that bottom where your foot is being fully flexed so that you can get that stretch on the calves at your bottom position. If you set the constraints on the knee pad or the shoulder pad too high or too low, you might run into range of motion issues. So you want to make sure you're getting enough range of motion based on where the shoulder and knee pads are. Because the calves are going to be doing all of the work, it's not an issue if we have to set it a little lower than would be natural and squat it up to get to a position where we can get full range of motion both down and up. Now, this isn't going to be an issue if we're using the Smith machine because we have so much range of motion on the Smith machine. That's why this is my favorite calf raise, but there's nothing wrong with all the other calf raise options. Do what you have, do what you like. So for the calf raise, we're going to go ahead and set up. Now for the regular calf raise, we're going to adjust our feet so that they're pointing forward in a neutral stance, and we're simply going to come down to a fully stretched position, letting our heels sit far below, a couple of inches below our toes, and then we're going to push up. Just as simple as that. Now, when we're doing the calf raise, we want to pause here and pause here. If you've seen our video on the leg muscle group, you'll understand that the gastroc and the soleus have lots of slow twitch muscle fibers, as well as the Achilles tendon loving to bounce. It's good at holding spring energy or elastic energy, and so will help us bounce. We want to mitigate that. We want to control the movement up, control the movement down. Control the movement up, control the movement down. It doesn't have to be a long pause, just enough to stop yourself from bouncing because it can be a very bad habit to bounce on a calf raise. We don't want to cut the range of motion short either and stop because we're bouncing. So we want to make sure we're getting all the way down, all the way up on our calf raises. Now we do have a few other options if we want to work the inner or outer part of the gastroc, and we're going to do that by rotating our feet. So normally I'm here. However, if I rotate my feet outwards, it's just a slight change. I'm going to work that inner part. And if I rotate my feet inwards, this one's really awkward. We're going to work that outer part. Now, it's also worth noting for this approach, it's going to be difficult to do that on a seated calf raise because the weight usually lies on your lower thighs. So that means that the weight is basically on your knees, and it's hard to rotate your knees internally or externally when you're seated and you have weight on your knees. The last variation of this that you can do is that of a leg press calf raise, which you can do with either a leg press machine or an actual leg press. But the idea is still the same regardless of what kind of calf raise you're doing. The main principles are full range of motion, nice and controlled, add that pause, and also, just as a last note, because a lot of people love to forget this, your calves are just like any other muscle, work them with high intensity. Don't do a crazy slow pace, don't do a crazy amount of reps. Do a normal rep range and work with intensity. Your calves should be on fire, no different than your quads are when you train your legs.
And that's about going to wrap it up for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this content and want to see more fitness content from EPT, go ahead and subscribe here for more videos, as well as on Facebook and Instagram at EPT Evanston. And if you haven't already, check out our free fitness tracking app on the App Store for free, available now.